The ocean is both stunning and unsettling. Beneath its surface lurk creatures that most people have never encountered firsthand. Some are enormous, others downright eerie, and a few look like they belong on another world. Join us as we reveal 20 mysterious underwater beings that still manage to unnerve even the most seasoned divers. Number 20. Mysterious creature in Georgia. Again in 2018, which was apparently quite the big year for mysterious creatures washing ashore, we have yet another monster carcass causing a kerfuffle. This time, in the southeast part of Georgia in the United States, there's a place rather excitingly called Wolf Island. The decomposing remains of what was initially seen as another mysterious creature had washed up on the shore, and they were discovered by some guy named Jeff. Naturally, he did absolutely zero research, nor did he use the vast knowledge of the Park Service at Wolf Island National Wildlife Refuge. Instead, he took a whole load of pictures and sent them to all the media outlets he could to get lots of lovely attention for his discovery. Experts in marine biology have, however, weighed in and said that from the pictures, it is not possible to tell if the creature was even real or if it was a hoax inspired by a local legend. Some marine scientists have hesitantly said that it bears a resemblance to a frilled shark, which is a deep-sea dweller, but without specimens, it is not possible to make an accurate conclusion. There is a local story about a creature called the Alta Mahaha, a sort of Loch Ness monster-type legend. Some artists' impressions of the mythical beast do seem to bear a resemblance to the thing found on the beach, but scientists at the local marine biology department of Jacksonville University say there is no evidence the body was real. It is just as likely to have been a hoax based on local myth. So, there you go, how very inconclusive. Number 19. Mystery creature on Mexico Beach. Here we are again with a mysterious sea monster discovered washed up on a beach, this time in Mexico. Much like all the others that seem to hit the headlines with clockwork regularity, the mystery element of it was quite short-lived. Naturally, people enjoy imagining that the gross, gelatinous goo is some sort of previously unknown species or perhaps the last of a lost dinosaur that somehow survived all this time. But even though there are certainly unknown elements in the world's oceans, there are plenty of known ones as well, and some of them are rather large. It should come as no surprise that this rotting carcass turned out to be a recently deceased whale. It's a 13-foot-long carcass, which isn't big enough to have been the whole thing. But according to a marine scientist who examined it, the pile of decomposing gunk was once a sperm whale's head, or at least part of it. The sperm whale's bulbous head is full of strange substances that have been called spermaceti. Stop snickering at the back there. In old times, whalers used to think this stuff was sperm in its head, but that's a weird idea, and scientists have discovered it's not. They actually don't really know what it is at all. There are a few theories, but nobody knows for sure. The main thought is that the substance has something to do with the whale's amazing ability to dive really deep for long periods. They basically hold their breath for around 90 minutes. Amazingly, there are still good numbers of these extraordinary creatures in the wild. They were the most popular whale for slaughter by the whaling vessels of the 18th and 19th centuries, and they're apparently a particularly good source of another weird substance called ambergris, a stinky, greasy wax made within the whale's digestive system. Even though it basically smells of whale poop, it's used in perfume making as well. Number 18. The Gulper Eel. The Gulper Eel, also known as the pelican eel, is one of the most unusual and, quite frankly, creepiest animals you may ever come across in the deep seas of our incredible planet. Isn't gulper a fun word, though? Go on and say it, gulper. You see? Anyways, this gulper eel looks sort of like a standard eel, a long body and not much else. They're related to all the other sea-based eels, like the ugly old moray. These gulpers are black in color and aren't exactly gigantic, at least not compared to some other eel species. On average, they're only between 2 and 3 feet in length. These sea creatures live in the deep ocean and can be found at depths from anywhere between 1,600 and 10,000 feet below the surface. But what actually makes them freaky and fascinating is their ginormous gulping mouth. It doesn't just go around with a big old wide open mouth all the time, though. The gulper eel can expand its mouth like a balloon to swallow prey. Afterwards, it deflates its mouth and returns to its regular eel-shaped body. These mysterious sea creatures are very seldom seen, so not much is actually known about them. That adds to the overall creep factor now, doesn't it? Number 17. Strange blob-like creatures in California. By-the-wind sailors, also known as Velella velella, are creatures that inhabit the ocean's surface. With their translucent, sail-like bodies, they drift across the open sea, propelled by the wind and ocean currents, hence their common name. By-the-wind sailors can be found in various oceans worldwide, often gathering in large numbers during certain seasons. Their distinctive blue floats, resembling miniature sailboats, provide buoyancy and allow them to harness the wind's power. Beneath the float, they have polyps that capture small prey for nourishment. These fascinating creatures have a symbiotic relationship with the wind, as it guides their movements and determines their fate. While some get stranded on beaches after strong winds, others navigate successfully across vast distances. They create a stunning spectacle when mass strandings occur. They wash up in large numbers because of how they travel. They literally end up wherever the wind takes them. The shores of California are where they're frequently sighted. Sometimes millions of them appear on the beaches. Although it may look like the coming of the apocalypse, experts say this is a normal part of their life cycle and nothing to be concerned about. The stranded ones will either die or be pulled back in by the tide. Number 16. Mysterious sea creature in the Philippines. When a creature dies in water and is left to float about, all kinds of gross things can happen to its body. Some of those things can make it difficult to identify what the animal may have been when it was alive. I know this is kind of upsetting, but it's also why there are so many mysterious alien creature stories. Sorry to be a party pooper, but it's time we all face some facts. When this apparently mysterious, hairy blob washed ashore in the Philippines, it only took a few random phone snaps and a quick upload to social media before a bunch of self-proclaimed experts weighed in with their decidedly unqualified opinions. Some of the bright suggestions included speculation that the unfortunate 20-foot-long creature was an old English sheepdog. Really? 20 feet long? Or a dead sea cow? Somewhat boringly, the local Filipino authorities stepped in to clear up the conundrum, and presumably the rotting 2,000-kilogram carcass, and released a statement saying it was actually a dead whale. Yes, it turns out that when a whale decomposes in water, its flesh can turn white and collapse in a way that makes it appear hairy. I hope nobody was eating dinner during this. Now it's time for today's topic. During a violent storm in the Persian Gulf in March 2025, crew members aboard a U.S. Navy surveillance vessel reportedly captured footage of something they couldn't explain. Amid towering waves and crashing lightning, the ship's forward thermal camera picked up a massive, skeletal creature leaping out of the water, its limbs elongated, its face grotesque, and its movement disturbingly human-like. The video, originally classified and stored in internal Navy servers, was reportedly leaked by an anonymous whistleblower. The still images began circulating online, with heated debates exploding across Reddit, X, formerly Twitter, and marine biology forums. Some officials dismissed the event as digital artifacting during a thunderstorm, but others, including retired naval officers, claim the footage is authentic and terrifying. Local legends in the Gulf speak of a sea phantom called Almacluba, a creature said to rise from the depths during storms to punish those who disturbed the sea. Until now, it was considered folklore, but this image, grainy, raw, and surreal, has reignited those stories with a vengeance. Is this just a trick of the storm, or proof that something ancient still stalks the deep? The Navy isn't talking, but the sea may have finally revealed one of its darkest secrets. Number 15. Japanese spider crab. The largest crabs in the world, Japanese spider crabs, have 10 legs and can span as much as 12.5 feet and weigh almost 20 kilograms. They're big enough to consume a human child. Masters of camouflage, these crabs live at depths of 150 to 200 meters, where they use debris to cover their shells and blend into the environment, becoming nearly invisible to predators. That may account for how they can live up to 100 years, some even longer. However, these oversized crustaceans are more likely to be hunted by octopuses or stingrays than to be threats themselves. They're scavengers, generally feeding on leftovers and decaying debris from animals and plants on the ocean floor. There are plenty of legends around these creatures, though. While they may not kill humans to feed, they have no problem gorging on dead bodies that sink to the depths. The Japanese spider crab is really just minding its own business, being a big OL crab and cleaning up a lot of gross, dead stuff. Number 14. The Montalk Monster. Back in 2008, a gross, bloodless, bloated body washed up on the shores of Montauk in Long Island, New York, and everyone freaked out. Well, wouldn't you? This creature, soon dubbed the Montalk Monster, was spotted on the beach, all dead and gross, and then it suddenly vanished. Nobody seemed to know why, perfect for keeping a mystery alive. Plenty of people weighed in with dopey ideas, as people do, and the myth of the Montalk Monster was born. Some speculated it was a mutant creature accidentally created in a lab at the nearby Plum Island Animal Disease Center. Naturally, others insisted it was aliens. But what do you think? I'm going with a sheep that had been in the water for a while. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Number 13. Blobfish. Oh, look at these guys. With a face like Mr. Magoo or a piece of rude graffiti, the poor old blobfish gets a whole bunch of abuse. Declared by some to be the ugliest animal in the world, the blobfish is kind of fascinating. Their features can be eerily human, usually in a comical way, like a grumpy-faced cartoon grandpa rather than a spooky human face like some animal sport. The blobfish has a big gelatinous head with huge lips, small eyes, and often a particularly displeased expression. You'd probably look gross too if people kept mocking your face. These unfortunate fish belong to the fathead sculpin family. These guys just can't catch a break. The blobfish is perfectly adapted to its deep-sea habitat. Its gelatinous appearance comes from having very few bones. Living at depths of 2,000 feet, the pressure would crush other bodies. So the blobfish's wobbly form isn't so silly after all, is it? Number 12. The deep-sea hatchet fish. Well, where this guy gets its name is a no-brainer, isn't it? The hatchet-shaped body clearly inspired the oh-so-imaginative naming wizards at the deep-sea fish investigation name Betrothal Branch, or wherever naming happens. It's part of a ridiculously unpronounceable family of deep-sea fish. There are about 45 species in this gang, ranging from 6 inches down to a tiny 1-inch wonder. They also have bioluminescence, like many deep-sea dwellers, using it for counter-illumination to avoid predators by not appearing darker when viewed from below. Clever stuff. Fun fact, there's also a freshwater hatchetfish, the kind people keep in aquariums, not these exciting deep-sea ones shaped like hatchet blades. Who knew? Isn't this a thrill ride of nightmare fish? We've never known such fun. Number 11. Deep-sea anglerfish. As we've already seen, anglerfish are pretty interesting and, well, pardon me, but they're also kind of super ugly. In our seas, there are actually more than 200 species of these gruesome fishes. They're all equipped with that fabulously useful fleshy lure in one form or another. That's the feature all the different shapes and sizes of anglerfish share. They are, at their best, deep-sea fishing. These fish can grow up to a terrifying 4 feet in length. Imagine that swimming out of the darkness toward you. And there are some quite famous ones like the black sea devil and the less well-known but still fascinating bottom dwellers like the sea toads. In some species of anglerfish, the males have extremely tiny bodies and such simplified anatomy that they basically just attach onto a female and live like parasites. It's believed this allows the female to access more food as it saves energy, well, for the males anyway, and their sole aim seems to be to find a female and mate. Number 10. Huge Orfish on California shore. Back in 2013, a weird thing happened in California when 2 giant oarfish washed up on the shore within a week of each other. Not so weird, you may think, until you find out that these things are actually super rare, and they live in extremely deep waters, literally thousands of feet down. So, what business they had rocking up all dead and stinky in California? That's anyone's guess, really. They are the longest of all bony fish, growing up to a humongous 56 feet long. And another reason these big guys are seldom seen is probably because they taste disgusting. Described as gelatinous goo, the giant oarfish has avoided becoming a sought-after fish simply by being too gross to eat. If you ever heard a salty old tale of deadly encounters with a giant sea serpent, this is one to give you a shiver. The oarfish is that sea serpent, and yes, they are real, but how much battling they actually do with fishermen and boats? Well, that's the fishy bit of the story. Already part of myth and legend, the giant oarfish does seem to have some kind of mystical power. They are known to turn up just before an earthquake, like some kind of slippery soothsayer. And some sort of earthquake prediction is never exactly something to look forward to, least of all in California. Number 9. Locals puzzled by massive sea creature. It doesn't seem as if this would be an especially difficult object to identify, but apparently people seem to be functioning on limited brain cells when it comes to stuff that washes up on the beach. According to most news reports, whenever any gross dead and decomposing carcass is washed onto the shoreline, pretty much anywhere in the whole entire world, well, they would have you believe that all the local people, you know, the ones who have lived their lives there, well, they're all just stood around going, gosh, I'll be darned. What in the world could this possibly be? Nobody knows, I tell ya. It's a total mystery. All while they stand next to a stinking, rotting heap of whale blubber. Seriously, here we are, yet again, on another beach in Indonesia, and people seem to have literally no idea what this massive dead whale could possibly be. The huge, pinkish, bleeding, rotting corpse was indeed a 50-foot-long baleen whale. Now, I grant you, if you're not a whale scientist, then narrowing down the exact species might be tricky, but this is clearly a whale, right? Or am I wrong? What else could it possibly be? Answers in the comments section down below, please. I know you want to. Number 8. Bloody Bellycomb jelly. Although they are called jellies, these bloody bellycomb jellies are actually ctenophores and not true jellies. They do, however, navigate the water in a similar way by beating their cilia. That's the stuff that looks like hair, but it's used by the jelly to propel them through the water. The clever thing about this particular species is the way in which it's colored. When light hits their cilia, it creates a shimmering rainbow effect, making them look like tiny underwater disco balls. Deep-sea explorers who spot them on submersible cameras often say they're among the most mesmerizing creatures they encounter, with their glowing red bellies and sparkling, iridescent sides. Some scientists have even described watching a bloody bellycomb jelly as hypnotic, since the colors seem to ripple and dance with every movement. There are only a handful of places in the world where you can see them, and most people will never get the chance to witness one in person. Occasionally, footage of these jellies goes viral online, with viewers convinced they're looking at some kind of alien life form. Their otherworldly appearance has even inspired artists and animators to create fantastical sea creatures based on their look. That blood-red belly is almost invisible in the deep sea, which is a good thing because otherwise, there are plenty of creatures that would make this jelly into its dinner. Also, the prey that the comb jelly itself would catch is usually the sort of creature with all that bioluminescence. So, without this red belly, the comb jelly would be all lit up from the inside by everything that it had eaten for breakfast, and it might as well take out an ad that says, "Come and eat me." So, the clever adaptation protects the comb jelly from would-be predators and allows it to hide out almost unnoticed in the depths while it hunts for its own food. Number 7. Remains of sea creature in Namibia. We here at the Fancy Banana do certainly love a gross mess that washes up on the beach. The more mysterious it might be, well, that's all the better. Bring on the gross, dead mystery creatures. We simply cannot get enough of them. When word got out about this strange blob on the sand, locals and tourists alike flocked to the scene, snapping photos and making wild guesses about what it could be. Some people thought it looked like a sea monster straight out of a horror movie, while others joked that it was a leftover prop from a sci-fi film shoot. Kids dared each other to get close, but most just wrinkled their noses and ran away from the smell. A few brave souls poked at it with sticks, hoping it might suddenly spring to life or reveal some hidden treasure inside. Social media lit up with theories, ranging from prehistoric creatures to alien visitors, and for a brief moment, the beach was the center of a global guessing game. Even the local news got in on the fun, interviewing people who claimed to have seen similar things in the past, though their stories were usually a bit far-fetched. Of course, as is always the case, so-called scientists were reported as saying they had no idea what it could be. This is a normal reaction for a person who uses science to determine things. It's necessary to gather information and compare it to data and all kinds of methodical techniques before you make a sweeping judgment about something that may not be immediately apparent. The lack of forthcoming naming of the expired creature is not, therefore, proof of it being mysterious and alien, but rather, it just needs to be properly assessed before it can be determined for certain. After a brief period of time, the scientists did just that. They looked at the creature more closely, and they looked at samples of its tissues, and they determined that this was once a beaked whale. And not actually all that mysterious after all, now is it? Number 6. Mystery reptile near North Carolina. Next up, we have a creature that was spotted in the water just off the coast of North Carolina. The first poster of the video wrote, "Whales or the Loch Ness Monster in the port this morning," which could mean that it was a whale, but then the internet gets a hold of it and off we go again into mysterious creature territory. So, this short video shows a creature surfacing briefly before dipping back down beneath the waves. The video quickly went viral, with people zooming in and analyzing every blurry frame like it was a scene from a cryptid documentary. Some folks even claimed they could see humps or fins that didn't match any known animal, while others swore it was just a log floating in the current. Local fishermen chimed in, saying they'd seen similar shapes before, but usually it turned out to be something totally ordinary. A few conspiracy theorists even suggested it was a government submarine disguised as a sea monster, just to keep things interesting. Eventually, a marine biologist weighed in and pointed out the telltale features of a whale calf, like the shape of its back and the way it moved. The whole thing became a fun guessing game for a few days, with everyone tossing out their wildest ideas before the truth finally surfaced. After all of the daft suggestions from Loch Ness Monster through to enormous snake, to alligator, to manatee, it was finally concluded that this was in actual fact a North Atlantic right whale calf that had strayed from her mother and was just popping up to the surface. North Atlantic right whales are actually a well-known presence along this stretch of coastline, as it is part of their annual migratory route. This species is endangered and has been listed as such since 1970, and it is now believed that there are fewer than 350 of these whales left in the wild. Number 5. Rare anglerfish in California. Well, would you believe it, we've yet another mystery on our hands. Why can't news broadcasters find any other way to frame a story about things that wash up on the shore? Is it inherently mysterious and completely mystifying when things that live in the sea are found on the beach? Probably not. But to news crews all over the world, it seems as though this concept simply can't wrap their tiny minds around. This anglerfish finding its way to the shore in San Diego is just simply too weird for some people. When the photos hit social media, people started speculating about everything from mutant monsters to secret government experiments gone wrong. Some beachgoers even thought it was a prop from a movie set, since it looked so bizarre and out of place in the daylight. A few brave souls got close enough to snap selfies, while others kept a safe distance, convinced it might suddenly spring to life. Local kids dared each other to touch its teeth, but most just stared in awe at its alien-like appearance. Marine biologists were actually pretty excited, since it's rare to see a deep-sea anglerfish up close, and they quickly collected it for study. The whole event turned into a bit of a spectacle, with people gathering around and swapping wild theories about what else might be lurking in the deep. Anglerfish are found in seas all over the world, and this particular one is found in the Pacific. the ocean that borders San Diego. They live in deep waters, mostly near the seafloor, so they are amongst the most odd creatures that will have their own source of luminescence that they use in the weird, fleshy thing that dangles out of the top of their head. This thing is their lure that they use to attract prey, like an angler with a fishing line, you see. Anglerfish are really efficient hunters, and not only have a whole bunch of extremely unpleasant, sharp and pointy teeth, but they also have gargantuan mouths. Anglerfish's massive mouth extends the entire circumference of their head, and it can also extend to such a colossal width that these scary sea dwellers can swallow prey that is twice their size. Number 4. Huge furry sea monster washes up. This mysterious sea monster carcass washed up on the beach beside the Bering Sea. That's very cold and feisty sea that's located between Alaska and Russia, spanning approximately 750,000 square miles. It's renowned for its rich marine biodiversity, and it supports a whole load of different species of fish, seals, whales, and seabirds. This gross and very smelly monster would be discovered on the shore, near a village, and it's alleged to have had locals baffled as to what it could have actually been. Some villagers even took photos and sent them to local radio stations, hoping someone could solve the mystery. A few of the older residents swapped stories about legendary sea creatures, claiming this might finally be proof of something strange lurking in the depths. Kids dared each other to get close, but the smell was so bad that most people kept their distance. There were even rumors that the carcass glowed at night, though that was probably just someone trying to spook their friends. Eventually, a couple of brave souls poked at it with long sticks, only to confirm it was as slimy and unpleasant as it looked. The local dogs, of course, thought it was the best thing ever and had to be dragged away before they rolled in it. But my guess is that they were not so dopey as to not have figured it out. This is evidently the decomposing body of a large marine mammal, likely a whale. These people live in one of the coldest and most insanely tough places on Earth, and they also live right next to a sea where there are many large and strange living things. Dead stuff is likely to wash up from time to time, and I know that it's super gross, but when something is dead, it begins to break down, and in water that can make for some unusual stylings, oftentimes the rotting muscles, ligaments, and other tissues become kind of stringy, almost hairy looking. So, Number 3. Mysterious wiggling creatures. Well, here we are on Green Hills Beach in Sydney, Australia, with a bunch of early risers who seem to have been scared, bemused, or just downright confused by clams on the beach. Are they beach newbies? No? Then what in the world is their problem? These are a kind of clam-like sea creature that appear to have washed up in large numbers on this Australian beach. Some people started filming the scene, hoping to catch the next viral sensation, while others poked at the creatures with sticks, half expecting them to leap up and scuttle away. A few brave kids even tried to pick them up, only to drop them again when the creatures wiggled in their hands. The local news showed up, interviewing beachgoers who gave wildly different theories, from alien invaders to rare sea slugs. One woman insisted they were a sign of an impending storm, while another man claimed he'd seen something similar back in the 1980s. Marine biologists were eventually called in, and they explained that these mass strandings can happen after big storms or unusual tides. Still, the whole event turned a regular morning at the beach into a bit of a spectacle, with everyone swapping stories and taking photos. They were all mostly attached in large clumps with seaweed, and on closer inspection, they are moving in a slow and non-threatening way, of course. But yes, they did move around, and it naturally freaked a lot of people out. There were also others that were not moving, and this led non-experts who were on the beach to conclude that those ones were dead, and that others were just doing a last dance before they too would perish in the sand. Number 2. The Canvi Island Monster. Back in 1953, a weird carcass washed up on the beach at Canvi Island in Essex in the UK. It was big and gross and freaked people out because they couldn't figure out what it was. And then that following year, an even bigger one washed up, and people started calling it the Canvi Island Monster. The local newspapers had a field day, printing wild theories about sea monsters and mutant creatures from the deep. Some folks even claimed it had legs, which only added to the mystery and the gossip swirling around the town. Kids dared each other to go down to the beach at night, convinced the monster would come back for revenge. There were even a few artists who sketched dramatic versions of the creature, making it look even more terrifying than it probably was in real life. For a while, Canvi Island became a hotspot for curious visitors and amateur monster hunters, all hoping to catch a glimpse of something strange. The story took on a life of its own, and even today, some people still debate what really washed up on those shores. I mean, they didn't have Google back then, or a whole bunch of apps to identify things, but I would go so far as to say that they had eyeballs and could probably determine that it was just a fish. And they had books and could probably go look up what sorts of fish had that kind of big mouth and jagged tooth appearance. Who the heck am I to judge? What do you think the big old gross dead fish was? Go on and tell me all about it down below. Number 1. The Flapjack Octopus. This funny little creature is the Flapjack Octopus. Can be found sitting on the muddy seafloor looking a bit like a pancake. Hence the name, because in some parts of America, Pancakes are called flapjacks. When it's startled, it can flatten itself even more, almost melting into the sand to hide from predators. Scientists say it's one of the most adorable deep-sea animals, and it's even inspired cartoon characters because of its big, round eyes and squishy body. Unlike most octopuses, it doesn't dart around quickly but sort of glides and flops along, making it look even more like a breakfast treat. Sometimes, it will wave its little arms like a tiny underwater dancer, and if you're lucky enough to spot one, it almost looks like it's smiling. The flapjack octopus is also known for its ability to change color, shifting from a pale pink to a deeper red depending on its mood or surroundings. Marine biologists are still learning about its habits, but every new video of this octopus seems to go viral because people can't get enough of its cuteness. This creature changes its appearance when it's swimming, though, when it looks a lot like a jelly, but then it floats and turns into an umbrella. It's kind of cute, though, don't you think? That wraps up our deep dive into the strangest and most mysterious creatures lurking in our oceans and seas. Which one sparked your imagination the most? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to check out the other awesome videos popping up on your screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.